Hi, I'm Joe McNally. Welcome to our lighting DVD. This has been a long time in the making. We had a great time doing it. We've worked on it now for, the better part of a year. So we're happy you're with us to go along on this adventure called the language of light. Every time we go out as photographers, we use light, right? I mean, from the Greek, photographos, to write with light, okay? It's our language. It's how we describe our subjects to other people who are not there with us when we're actually shooting, okay? And how we use that light is incredibly important to our success as photographers. Why would you use one light? Why would you use two? Why would you use 10? Okay? Why does one face need a certain type of light and another face require an entirely different approach? What we're going to talk about relentlessly are the three components of light, okay? Color, quality, and direction. It's how we speak as photographers. It's our language. What do you use in a particular situation? That's where we go with this light. We're going to talk about one light. We're going to talk about lots of lights. Those are the issues we get into, as well as different locations, okay? We use the studio. We're out in bright sun. We're in shadowed hallways. We're in, shops and gyms and all sorts of places where typically a photographer might be sent on assignment. And what we do is address the issue of light. How do you use it? How do you shape it? How do you manage it? To that end, we're not system specific. We're not about buttons and dials, though there is a really cool section on buttons and dials that if you're a Nikon user, okay, you'll really enjoy that section. But for the lion's share of this whole DVD experience, we're not talking so much system stuff. We're talking about light, that overall thing that we desperately have to hang on to as photographers. How to use it, how to shape it, how to manage it, how to speak with it. That's the nature of this DVD. It's been a fun thing to do. It's been a fun thing to put together, and I think you're going to have a fun ride as you come along with us. So welcome to the DVD, and let's get started. Okay, we're going to talk about that most ubiquitous of photographs, the portrait, the headshot. You ready, Courtney?
Walk this way, okay? You have to have a limp when you go onto the set.
I'm here with Courtney, who's a terrific person to have in front of the lens. And let's assume for a moment this is all we got. It's a D700, very typical sort of advanced, what they call a prosumer camera. Again, typically it comes with a light on board. The pop-up flash, right here. It's got its own flash. That's a great thing. It will save your neck, no two ways about it. It's great to have a source of illumination bundled right into the camera. But let's see the feel and effect for this particular situation and see what happens with it. All right, Courtney, here we go. Ready? Right at me. You look great. Perfect. Okay. You can see there's a shadow over the lower half of Courtney's body. What happened? The pop-up or built-in flash, you see how close it is to the lens barrel and this lens shade? The actual shade on this lens threw a shadow onto my subject, which obviously is to be avoided. So there's the conundrum, if you will, of the built-in flash. Handy? Absolutely. There's other functions for it, which we'll get into in other segments, but as a flash, has its limitations. Limitation of quality, limitation of range, and also as we get close to our subject, you can see bang, we throw a shadow right onto them. So let's try one. We'll take the lens shade off, okay? That I don't like to do because I think the lens shade helps out your lens, but let's see what happens now with this pop-up and no lens shade. Here we go, Courtney. You look great, perfect, awesome, nice. So it's clean now. We lost that shadow. As a strategy, that's a way to make this work, but honestly, I'm gonna try to move away from this. Small spectral light source equals hard, unflattering light. That's the last thing I want to do to a beautiful young face like this. I want to bring some nice light. So let's take the next step. Let's eliminate the use of the built-in. Okay, I'm going to ask Callie, our assistant, to bring me over here an SB900. Thanks, Mike. This is a speed light or hot shoe flash. See the potential advantage here? The source of illumination with the pop-up was right here. Source of illumination with this is up here. Let's see what happens. All right, so we did better. Shadow's gone. Why? Physics of light. It's very logical. Light travels in a straight line. With the pop-up being down here, it clipped that lens shade here through the shadow. The source of illumination is now several inches higher. It's clearing the barrel of the lens and the shade, and it's clean. Is it super fantastic light? No, it's still hard flash. It has a bit of diffusion in that we use the onboard or the dome diffuser that comes with the unit, provides a bit of scatter and a bit of softening, but really it's not fantastic light. We're going to take several more steps here to take this light and make it much, much better. So we're changing things up a little bit. Courtney's got very fair features and blonde hair, so I thought, let's try something against the black background. It's going to sharpen things up a little bit and make it a little more dramatic. Now, let's talk again about the light. The straight flash, as we've indicated, effective, but hardly glamorous or even particularly attractive. So what's the name of the game with these? Small light source, generally speaking, means hard, shadowy light. You don't want to use that on a beautiful young face, okay? What we're trying to do here is take this small light source, turn it into a big light source. Strategy for doing that, find something you can wash it off of. Right behind me, this wall now becomes my light source. All the flashes out there on the market now, most of them anyway, will tilt and swing, for you. So I'm going to crank this around and I'm going to fire it back over my head. Doesn't interfere with the camera's metering system. Just because the flash is backwards makes no difference. The flash is reading, okay, through the lens, TTL. It's all being metered. So the camera understands that the flash is washing this way now and not going straight. So let's try this, okay? Still 60th of a second at f4. That's exactly where we started. That's exactly where we are now. No exposure compensation in the camera, none in the flash. Here we go. Perfect? Put both hands on your hips or something like that. That's great. Way to go, Courtney. Fantastic look. Well, as they say, yowza. It looks like a big set of studio flashes. Why? Because we took the small light source, turned it into a big one. This is the size of a softbox, okay? By redirecting the light and washing it softly off this wall, the bounce or reflectance just drapes itself on Courtney really softly and really well. We're going to take what we just did and ramp it into something that is seriously more sophisticated and will bring light in a really wonderful way. So I'm going to get you just a tick more glammed up, different top and a little more spark to your eyes with the makeup. And that's it, okay? You saw how we took the small speed light source, made it a big source by banging it into a wall, washing it off the wall. What we're going to take a look at now is kind of a super accelerated version of doing the exact same thing. But now, actually what we're doing is we're playing a little ping pong with the light. We're bouncing it one way into what's called V-flats, which I'll show you, and then we're washing it backwards off the wall, and then it's coming forward onto the model. To do this, we need a bit more light than that first simple setup where we were just using one hot shoot speed light. So come on this way. This is a V-flat, aptly named, right? Comes to a V, made out of foam core, white on one side, black on the other. I want to keep the concentration of light up into the upper quadrant of the V-flat because we're really doing a headshot. This is a beauty headshot, okay? So what's going to happen here is these lights are triggered wirelessly. They're all in the same group, okay? Group A, channel 1. That means I can send them a signal from the camera to go up and down in power, and all of the lights here will go up and down according to what I dictate at the camera because they're all in the same group. They'll respond in unison. You can do this with one light, okay? I'm using two because I want a little bit more power because think about the fact that the light is traveling a fair distance. This way, and then out to my subject. So, Group A, channel 1, they've got battery packs on them, SD9s in this case, okay? Gives them a little more efficiency, a little shorter recycle time, especially when you're asking a lot of them in terms of lighting your subject or traveling the light a fair distance. This is a C-stand, sandbag, V-flat. Okay, 2 V-flats. Here's my camera position. Subject's gonna be right out there. if you notice, I'm pretty particular about the symmetry of it. So in other words, these light sources, I'm really trying to make sure that they are an equivalent distance this way from the camera and also this way from the wall. So everything's identical about them. The throw of the light, the bounce back, the wash over me, okay, the symmetry of the light approaching the subject, and the fact that this is now an enormous, just kind of cascade of light that's coming right over me. It's like a tidal wave of light that's coming towards the subject. It's got more power than 1,000 suns. No, it's just a lot of light, but it's nice light, it's soft light. It carries a good distance. Why? Because it's got this enormous source here that it's washing off of. Remember too, if you look up at the ceiling, that's white too. We're gonna get some bounce off of that ceiling, okay? Sometimes a white ceiling can be your enemy because it fills things that you don't want filled. In this instance, I'm more than happy to have it white because it gets this little bit more bounce, a little more collection of light up in there. If I wanted to take the next step and get really manic, see the gray floor? What you can do is take white seamless paper, cheap, simple, just take it and stretch it across the floor. Eliminate the gray, turn the gray floor white. Now what do you have? White ceiling, white floor, white V-flats, white wall. You've got this enormous cube of light that's heading toward your subject, and it's all soft and beautiful. I'm going to take the commander and I'm going to make it a flash as well. Okay, so I'm going to assist these lights. So now they're driving these lights, but there's also a real flash component to this. It's still going to go backwards. Okay? All right. Let's see what happens here. Just a quick test. Great. Okay, we're done. That's a wrap. Thank you. No, it looks great. It looks great. It's, you know, it always surprises me the way the TTL works because there are certain situations, absolutely it gets glitchy, deserts you, okay, in those crucial moments. Sometimes it gets confused. But a situation like this, I have no compensation dialed into anything, and it's a bang-on perfect exposure. Just from a distance, you can see that it's handling the black, handling her blonde hair, all that stuff. Okay, really, really well. Okay, here we go, sweet, perfect, really nice. That's awesome, great. Cool. Looking good, that's awesome. What we have is this beautiful wash of light coming off the wall, which is very flat and very frontal, and it's gorgeous. But I thought maybe we could spark it a little bit by putting a little low dish or a low spark into her eyes. So now what we've got is this tri-grip. It's a series of diffusers and reflectors, okay? This is white on one side, silver on the other. I'm using silver because I want a little fashiony pop off of it. And now we could easily do a couple of stands right here, bounce these guys down. If you notice, I'm having one light and one light, same as here, one light and one light, symmetry. Okay, so Mike and Mike are gonna flash these downwards. They're gonna be flush. They're not gonna skip towards Courtney, okay, because I don't want light to just carom at a hard angle. That would kind of light her knees. I want the light to go straight down and then wash up with all the other light. And it provides a low spark into her eyes. And it's really pretty. So let's do this, guys. You ready? And here we go. Perfect. Great, look. We went from there, which is a really nice light, very flat and frontal, to there, which might be a little too much. We could probably light you with a car headlight and you'd do fine. And great look. That's fantastic. Good look. Really nice. Perfect. Awesome. Nice. Okay, good look. Great. One of the really flattering things you can do, especially for a female subject, is to put a little low dish of light into their face. Little pop of light from below, okay? It's kind of a glamour thing. Think about footlights on Broadway, all that sort of stuff. So I asked the guys here to hand hold, because we're moving fast, a pair of additional lights that are in a separate group Reason being they're in a separate group, and the important reason is that this, okay, is one group, this becomes another group. I can ratio them independently. So in other words, if I have everything in the same group, they all rise and fall in unison per my instructions. If I have different groups, this can stay constant while I vary this. And this is probably going to be a slightly variable type of light because I'm a little closer to her and I don't want to overpower from below because then we're talking Halloween. Okay, and we don't want to do that. So I modulated this light source down here to -1 off of the main, okay? And now I've got this really kind of fashiony pop, a real glisten to her eyes. And it all comes from this silver board on the floor right by camera. Again, symmetry. One light, one light, one light, one light. It's incumbent on any photographer to manage bad light well. Okay, ever show up on the set or on a wedding or something like that and somebody says, whoa, it's a beautiful day, look at all this sunlight. That must be fantastic for you because you're a photographer. And you're like, oh man, I'm in so much trouble. The light is going in and out. It never approaches good. It goes from really, really, really bad. I'd say another word, but let's keep it at bad. And then it goes into not so bad. Now it's really bad. So you have to learn how to manage this well, okay? So what we're using is diffusion. Bigger the light source, more diffusion, more wrap, more glow. Smaller the light source, hard spectral shadows. Look at the sun right now. Relative to us, it's a small source, a billion miles away, no clouds baffling it, hard shadows. If you look at poor Courtney here, you can barely see her beautiful eyes. This here, okay, is a 6-foot silk. It's called in the industry a 6x. It's a one-stop diffuser. It's also known more commonly as a bed sheet. You can make this. You can just put a couple of slats together, nail them together, tighten up a bed sheet across it, and you're done. Okay, but you know, this is a piece of photo equipment. It's a Last-Light 6x panel. So Mike and Mike are gonna walk this in slightly towards Courtney. Now, she's looking pretty terrible about now. Apologies, but you know, it's nothing to do with you. All right, let's walk it in. And now she's in diffusion, okay? It's cool, it's good, it's better, all right? Let's say that, it's better. But is it really good? Is it really kind of glowy? Let's demonstrate what we've been talking about. Watch the change in the light quality on her face as this big light source now gets ever closer to her. Bigger the light source, closer to the subject, the more and more diffusion and wrap and glow you're gonna get. Okay, so nice and slow, guys. Okay, and now lower just a touch. Keep coming, woof. Right about there. And now I'm gonna come in with a simple board. This is a tri-grip board, but it could be a piece of cardboard. It could be a white foam core, right there. And that is absolutely gorgeous light made from the worst light of the day. Courtney, don't take this the wrong way, but you look perfectly awful right now. Absolutely terrible, but it has nothing to do with you. Now we're gonna fix that. Okay guys, move the diffuser in overhead, please. Angle slightly down on this side, camera side. Good. And now with the fill board underneath, we've got light from above. We basically took this bad sunlight and made a beauty light out of it. So we're here on the set today. We're trying to compress as much information into a short amount of time as possible. So I've got some help, okay? Because I wanted to see that motion, that move of the silk, and have the light improve visibly, okay? So we've got some extra hands on the set, but I could easily do this and have done it with just one other assistant, put it on sticks, lock it down with a sandbag, and you've got a portable studio out in the middle of no place. Now we're going to take the overhead light and we're going to baffle it from the side, which is going to bring a glow from the side that will wrap around her face. Now I've got darkness and blown out highlights. Horrible. Okay guys, come up from the side, please. Now, Watch Courtney's face as these guys come in. Okay, Mike, you back, yeah, at that angle. Okay, now, see that? We flat, you know, it's flatter. It's nicer. It's not great though, but it's workable. It's definitely workable. Got really no blowout anymore, which is a nice thing. Guys, slowly walk it in towards Courtney, please, and watch her face change. Keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. Watch that. Now you see how close that is? And I still see the background. I got no worries because I got a long lens on. That light source is 6 inches from her face. I will beg, borrow, and steal every inch I can get my light sources close to my subjects. Okay, Dan, come on in on the fill board. What's the beauty of this? I'm working available light. Principles of light, no flash, but I'm working available light. See how fast I'm able to go on this camera? Bang, 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 bang. Moving fast. Okay, now, tip it, guys, more radically, and bring it down low into her. There we go. Cool? Perfect. What you're doing is you're interrupting the existing light pattern. You're interrupting the flow of that sunlight, and right before it hits your subject, you're baffling it. And the closer you can get that baffle, the more effective it's going to be, because you get that light really close, and even light coming from a side lit or side positioned diffuser is going to hit the face, and because that diffuser is so big, it's going to wrap this way and fill the face. And if you notice behind me, it's shade, dark leaves and whatnot. Work at the wide open f-stop. Everything else drops, and you can take horrible daylight in a matter of minutes and turn it into something absolutely beautiful. Say you don't have a diffuser. That 6-foot diffuser, well, okay, it's a bit of a commitment, but you can get by on a much smaller, you know, kind of an arrangement or apparatus just by yourself with a small flash, a stick, an umbrella, and that's what we'll demonstrate right now. Poor Courtney, we are baking her in the sun. You look at those eyes, you can't see much of anything, okay? It's really, really dark, really, really shadowy. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna take an umbrella on a stick, okay? I call them sticks. They're lighting stands, okay? But I'm gonna move it in. And as you can see, I've got a flash, an SB900. I'm gonna talk to this flash wirelessly. The strategy I'm using is to actually use my light shaping tool as a blocker for the sun, which kind of makes sense because it's coming from the same direction most of the light is coming from anyway out here, the sun. So if you can see the shadow pattern, I've got Courtney right underneath my umbrella. Now, I'm trying to get a balanced exposure, foreground and background, available light. That's not too bad. Now I'm gonna put in the flash. The flash should fill the foreground and help me balance that foreground-background ratio. Here's where the pop-up or built-in shines. This is really what it's meant for. This is what you should use it for. It's a commander. It sends a signal to that light there, which is going to do the flash work. This will wink. It'll have a small light that'll emanate from it. That's a pre-flash. It's a basically Morse code for flashes. It's sending a signal to that, telling it how to behave. Remember when we used it as a light? Didn't really cut it, did it? But as a commander, as a signaler to a remote light, it works really, really well. Perfect. Come on in there, Callie. Great. Pretty. Beautiful. Courtney, you're amazing. Looking great. So what I'm doing is I'm triggering that flash, wide open sunlight, using the actual umbrella, the light shaping tool, to block her from direct exposure to the sun. And then I'm blending background and foreground with a flash exposure. And the fill board is catching some of the light and bouncing it back up. Now, you have to make certain sacrifices in the, completely wonderful position that you'd like to have the umbrella in, because you have to keep it between her and the sun. So it's maybe not ideal in terms of its placement. Ideally, I'd have it maybe more over here, but then she'd be in hard sunlight. So I'm making a bit of a compromise, which is the essence of field work. You're making compromises out here all the time. So, strategies for managing bad light. This is horrible light. Okay, if Courtney was not under this umbrella, she'd be out here and you'd never be able to see her eyes, just dark shadows. Moving her under the light shaping tool and then essentially filling back with this tool, filling up in here, okay, creates beautiful light and does it in a heartbeat. And I'm able to talk wirelessly to that flash via the pop-up right here, okay, which is, as I mentioned, the best use of the pop-up. Try not to use it as a light, use it as a commander. Get your light off the camera. Group A, channel 1, TTL00?
Yep.
All right, we gotta nail this because this guy's not gonna give us much time. All right, here we go. Ready? Cool. Whoa, wait a minute, that's way hot. Hang on. All right, here we go. Try again. That's off too. Man, look at this. I mean, this TTL stuff is supposed to be automatic. It's supposed to just work.
Pizza guy's here.
Let's just take a break and get a bite to eat. I gotta think this through.
Oh, hey, what's with the lights?
We're just trying to shoot some flash pictures, and I don't know, we're having some problems. You wouldn't understand.
TTL? I think I can help. One for the camera. One for the flash. Full manual. Good to go. Try it now.
All right. Wow. Oh, that's perfect. Who was that guy? What we're going to address in this segment is different light for different faces. The human face is like landscape. It's terrain, you know, it looks good in different qualities of light. You know, certain folks need a certain kind of light, okay? We're gonna take a look at that particular quality that we're gonna use for those particular faces and how we shape it and craft it and make it different, okay? So, let's start off with 250 at 5.6 on the camera. It means I'm controlling the ambient level of light in the room. There's no ambient light that's bleeding into the exposure. It's a dark room, okay? The only thing that we'll see is that which I light. And we're gonna start off with the pop-up, the built-in, okay? It's efficient, it's not great looking. Let's just take a quick look and take a picture of Phil. We got a good picture of Phil, all right? A good picture, a reproducible picture, a publishable picture. It's quote unquote well exposed. Is it well done? No. Nature and quality of light is all this is about. Why? There's no ambient light on the set. I've got to generate the light, and the light I generated came from this built-in, and we've discussed on a couple of occasions the fact that this built-in does not put out a really good quality of light. What it is designed for, the best use of it, is to take it, go into the camera menu, and shift it over from being a light to being a commander flash. To do that with the pop-up is an interior camera move. You go into the menus of the cameras, as opposed to the hot shoe speed lights, where you're actually making the moves on the flash. For the pop-up to shift from a flash to a commander, you've got to get into the menus here. The umbrella, certainly not the final frontier. Very simple, very basic light shaping tool. It actually is probably, in most instances, the very first light shaping tool you're gonna get. You go to the camera store and you get a light, battery pack, umbrella, okay? Why? Because it's simple to use, it's cheap, and it looks good. So, you know, what's to argue about? This is called an all-in-one umbrella. This is made by Lastolite, and I use them all the time. Umbrellas are cool, right? you can use them as a reflected source. So in other words, if you have your subject over here, the umbrella's here, the light is here, bouncing into this, reflecting off of it, and then covering your subject. That's a reflected mode of using the umbrella. You can also flip it this way. Take this skin off, okay? That's why they call it an all-in-one. You reverse the umbrella position and you shoot through this diffuser. Now it's called a shoot-through umbrella. Little quick tip, okay? Sometimes, you have a subject, you light them with the entire umbrella. It's too much light. You've got, all of the light up here, but you still have all the light down here. You want people to concentrate on somebody's face, right? So sometimes I'll just peel this skin off halfway and just leave it like that. That way, as I approach the subject, I force the light to jump up into the diffuser part up in here, and this, obviously being opaque, blocks the lower portion of the light, and you tend to get a natural gradation, okay, from the face of the subject through the chest, legs, etc. It's especially handy if somebody's wearing something bright, okay, and you want that concentration of light in the face, but you don't want that bright garment to heat up as well. If you use the whole umbrella, you've got no control. Speaking of control, let's look at the shape of the umbrella, right? It's a parabola. So that is the beauty and the curse of using an umbrella light. Why? Because the parabola shape covers your subjects really well. It spreads the light out really well. But also, is there any control here? No. There's no baffles. There's no real means of corralling the light. Once you set a reflected light into this, it goes everywhere. We did a few snaps of fill with the pop-up. We've changed the pop-up now to become a commander and not a light. Here's the potentially confusing thing. You'll still see it flash, okay? But that light is not a light, or it's not a flash. It's not an exposure-making flash. It's that little blip of light is talking to that light, okay? That's all it's doing. So let's take a look. What I do with my subjects on the set, which I recommend as a strategy, is I get on the set with them and I get their head position or body position and I look back at my light. That way I can tell that this light is oriented for fill in the proper way. If I make the call from back here, I could be like 10, 20 degrees off. I can miss the sweet spot of the light. So I try to get their position relative to the light so I know that, whatever's coming at them is coming at them from a good direction. Okay, so first crack, here we go. Phil, you look great. Okay, already a much better picture of Phil. We went from this small, tiny little source, far away from him, to this much, much bigger source, broad, soft, okay, kind of wraps around him, gets his face going really well, and it's eons, okay, where we've traveled from here to there, okay, in terms of quality of light. And this is not hard to do. My first exposure, bang out of the gate, was fine, all right? This flash, talking to this light, filtering through the brain of the camera, TTL, the camera is able to meter only that which it sees, reflectance, color, okay? Sensitivity is like it's taken in the reflectance of Phil's hair, the color of the shirt, all that stuff the camera's brain is chewing on and giving me the flash power that it thinks is appropriate. As we've already seen, sometimes it misses that guess. But in this instance, bang on, we're pretty accurate. All right, here we go, Phil. Good look, that's nice. Now, if you notice too, my small pop-up flash, that is the commander unit, okay? It can't see the sensor. The sensor's hidden by the umbrella. That's a potential pitfall. But in a room like this where I got a lot of white bouncing around, I've got no problems. This small commander signal is just kind of ratcheting off the walls, coming back, bouncing, and getting to the sensor, which is hidden by the umbrella shape right here. Notice anything different about the set? Okay, same umbrella, different stand. Gonna show you why. The stand works fine, okay? Simple stands are great. They're light, they're cheap. You can support easily a hot shoe, speed light style of light and an umbrella or a softbox. No issues there, really, okay? If you're traveling light and fast, a good option. But we're here in the studio, and I'm gonna re-diffuse this light. So in other words, I'm gonna bring another sheet of diffusion in between the light source, which is the reflected umbrella, and fill. If I do that with a regular stand, I'm gonna constrain my access compositionally to get to fill. I'd have to push my camera this way. So what I did was I switched out to the C-stand. You'll hear me talk about C-stands numerous times, okay? C-stands are great. I highly advocate at least one if you're gonna set up a home studio or even travel on location. It gives you one really sturdy base of operations that you can hang just about any kind of light on. So the reason, the beauty of the C-stand is this, the extension arm, okay? This C-stand, all right, it's got a turtle base, a riser, that's a C-stand. A C-stand complete has this extension arm. And you got to get the extension arm because that's where the flexibility and the articulation possibilities come from. Because if you're going to use a small speed light, you can't light the world with them. They're battery operated units. You want to get them right where you want them to wring as much quality out of that tiny little light as you possibly can. So this gives me a lot of compositional leeway. It gives me a lot of placement possibilities because I've got this type of motion here, okay? I also have, sorry, Phil. This type of motion here, okay? And I can really move the light in precisely or relatively precisely the angle I need it to get to. So once again, I'm gonna put this up here, kind of angle it around. Take a look from Phil's position. It's looking pretty good. Okay, Callie, come on in with that tri-grip. We're going to use a big tri-grip diffuser. It's a one-stop diffuser. So now I've got the dome diffuser on the light. It's reflecting into the umbrella. It's going to wash back through another sheet of diffusion, and we'll pick up what we'll see, I think, is that the light is going to be a little creamier, a little richer, because we have a very strong subject. We have a strong face. Okay, here we go. Ready? Now, I'm going to ask Callie to make sure that this is angled exactly in the same way the umbrella is in terms of approach. Okay? Now, I still got to get under there. Mike, slide it upwards just a little bit. Cool. Here we go. Okay, pretty nice. If you notice, too, I don't have to, and I didn't, change my exposure. There's another sheet of diffusion and think, okay, loss of light. But what happens with TTL? It's based on reflectance, okay? So the camera's still accurately reading what's translating through all that diffusion and still giving me accurate exposures. Here we go. Good look, Phil. Way to go. And even with all that diffusion, 250 at 5.6, ISO 200. Lean a little more heavily on your elbow, okay, Phil? Cool? Good? Little richer light, okay? Little loss of contrast, but there's a nice fall off to it. The line of rotation from highlight to shadow is a little less defined, and it's just a little more pleasing, a little more rounded, okay? So that was the key to making sure that this light is double diffused. If you didn't have a diffuser, what was part of the key to that? Okay, the double diffusing, all that sort of stuff. But you know, the skin of that diffuser, that actually physically became the light source, right? And it was closer to Phil than the reflected umbrella, which is why I don't use umbrellas in a reflected sense all that much, because when you have the umbrella shaped like this, reflecting, it's further from your subject than it would be if it was shoot through. This is what we're gonna do now. I'm gonna take this guy down, slide it down here. I'm gonna peel the skin off. I don't have to worry too much about gradating this light. I think I can hit Phil with the whole umbrella because the garment he's wearing is pretty dark. His hair is silver, so that's gonna retain a little highlight value and a little interest up in here, all right? Take this around. If you notice, just as a point of safety, the knuckle here turns in the direction where this is bearing the weight. That way, if it starts to slip, it tightens on itself. If you have it in the reverse direction, it loosens. Another thing to be mindful of. See, this is a standard umbrella bracket, okay? A hot shoe speed light attachment that serves you well when you want to put one of these through an umbrella. But with a bigger studio light, where is that light source? It's right in the middle of the umbrella, right? This ain't in the middle. So you have to be careful of that. If you look at your subject and just orient the umbrella right smack dab in the middle where you think, you know, that's where it should be, remember, the real hot spot of the light is actually up, 3/4 up into this area of the umbrella. That can make a difference, okay? This is a game of inches. Just little pushes and pulls make a lot of difference in the way your light looks and feels. So now, with the shoot through, I've physically got the source closer to Phil, which is a good thing. Now, I'm gonna ask Phil, we're gonna start to get in a little bit moodiness here. I'm gonna ask you to look a little bit that way, Phil. Cool? All right, we got something good going on here. I've got the umbrella's just a hair too close to him. Pull this back. Okay, cool. That looks good. If you notice, it's a one light solution. I'm still just using the pop-up or built-in to speak to that light. That's the only source in the picture, and this is my favorite iteration so far. The first placement on the umbrella, the light was nice, but general. This starts to get real direction to it, real character. There's a strong kind of, I don't know, Mount Rushmore quality to Phil's face right now. Say that, Phil? What do you think? Mount Rushmore? Yeah. All right. All right, here we go. Cool. Okay. Liking that a lot. Okay. Simple, right? One umbrella, shoot through. This has a more articulate quality. It's closer to him. It's more specific to his face. It reacts with his face really, really well. Now, softbox. It is exactly what that name suggests. It's a box of light. We looked at the umbrella, right? Open parabola, nice soft light, goes everywhere. This is also a pretty nice soft light, a little more directional, a little more punchy than an umbrella, but it is corralled, right? It's directional. So you won't get this kind of spread all over the place that you'll get out of the umbrella. This will have a little bit of punch, a little bit of direction, and less spill. If you have somebody close to a wall and you want to control the wall and them differently, in other words, quality of light on them different from the quality of light on the wall, umbrella is probably not the way to go because the light's going to go everywhere. You're going to be there all day trying to control both those areas. Softbox would be more applicable to that situation in that it'll direct the light onto your subject and fall off fairly rapidly, and the wall will be different. And then you can light it independently of your subject, which gives you that thing that we always strive for with lighting, control. Okay, attaching a light, a speed light, to the EasyBox is pretty easy. Anybody who's worked with the 900s, the SB 900s, knows that this has a beefier or thicker foot. The EasyBox Hot Shoe smartly developed an adapter that accommodates that, so put it in that end, slide it down, center it, okay, lock it off, tighten that guy, make sure it's not going to slip, goes back on the stand, and you're set to go. Now I'm going to ask Phil to come back on the set, and we're going to take a look and see what a Hot Shoe softbox does, how different it is in terms of feel and articulation from an umbrella. Using the C-stand and extending it the way I'm doing is a great thing, but what's happening to the weight here, okay? It's extending. I always try to extend the weight over the biggest, longest leg, but just for safety purposes, it's always wise to put a sandbag on that light. You know you're in a strange business when a bag of sand is important. So if you see what I'm doing here, I've got points of control. Height, shifting this way, articulating this way. So the C-stand really rocks in terms of being able to place your light the way you want it. Okay? Looking good, Phil. All right. So, also, if you notice what we did here, we took in one of our equipment cases. We used the Kata line, really good, solid cases. I do this sometimes with my subjects just to get them to relax their body line a little bit, okay? You know, folks get out there and they're standing there or sitting there. It's like, okay, what do I do with my hands? How do I, you know, and they get stiff and uncomfortable. If you give them something just to lean on, it just relaxes them. Gives their shoulders a bit of an angle. All right, here we go, Phil. Looking good? Really nice. Okay, very predictable result. It's collected, it's punchy, and the drop line of shadow, that line between highlight and shadow, is very defined. It's not soft at all. It's real sharp. Okay, I like it. Maybe just shift your chin this way, just a touch. Way to go. Cool. And then just come back towards me just a bit, Phil. Good? Good look. Nice look. Now, dome diffuser, interior diffuser, exterior diffuser, 3 layers of diffusion. Hear that light coming back? Again, 250 at 5.6. The reason that light is recycling so fast, one of them anyway, is, of course, I have the light source close to Phil, but I'm also using an external battery pack. This is an SD9, okay? It has 8 AA batteries in it. It increases the efficiency of the light, shortens up your recycle, and also prolongs your field time. Crucial issue for a location photographer. Because the softbox is creating such dramatic fall off on the shadow side of Phil, I'm just going to take a tri-flip diffuser with a warm tone, a warm solid gold reflector side, and put it and reflect the light back into this area of Phil here, okay? Remember, light picks up the color of what it bounces off of. So this highlight that we create is going to be minimal, but it will be warm. Perfect position, Phil. Maybe angle your shoulders a little more into the light. Cool, good. There you go. Okay. All right, now pull the back end back. Yeah, now you can walk in just slightly. Cool, woof, right there. Really nice. Okay, so we picked up a minimal opening of the shadow side of Phil's face with that. Let's try this. Callie, let's take this so we get real good play out of it. Let's take it like this, okay? And maybe come a little bit from below so we can really catch that angle of incidence, angle of reflection thing going on there, okay? All right, here we go. Cool. Okay, better. We just have a hint of detail on the shadow side of Phil. Phil's got great hair to work with, okay? So now we got that little bit, just a little bit of warm highlight. And it works really well. It really, stay right there. Here we go, Phil. Cool. Cool. Really nice. So Phil's got a great profile, okay? Hair, everything is working. I just indiscriminately placed this down. Let's take a picture with it, okay? My guess is that it's gonna need further articulation, but it gives me a quote unquote bad starting point to show a photograph, talk about it, and then we'll move it into the position that I really think it needs to be. Okay. So what I thought would happen actually did happen, which is kind of a cool thing. Light is actually logical and to a degree predictable. What I did when I placed this light, if you can see, the light is fully embracing Phil's profile. So in other words, it's actually slightly forward of him. So that means there's a wash of light that's really flooding all of his face. Shadows. Shadows are your friend. In terms of profile, shadows are important because they define the volume of the face. It becomes a rich and sort of mysterious kind of a feel, you know? There's a drop off and there's a line of light along the important features. So when I do a profile light, generally speaking, I take the subject's nose right there. That's gonna be 12 o'clock, okay? So let's do this. Phil's pointed this way, all right? There's 12 o'clock. The light can't be at 12 o'clock, nor can it be at 10 o'clock. I really want this light about 2 o'clock. That means it's slightly behind him. That means the light will travel this way, hit his cheek, and die. Because that is where the definition of the profile starts to really be strong. Okay, right now, I'm flooding his face with light. It's too flat. Let's try that. You know, when you start to work on a photograph that you think is going to look really, really nice, it's like you can't wait to get to it. You know, you get kind of, you know, hyper on the set. I do, anyway. Been that way for 30 years. There have been times I thought where I was about to shoot a picture that I wanted so bad that I thought my heart was going to stop while I was shooting. Sounds nuts, but it's true. There's a world of difference here. I don't know if you can see that or not. Vast difference, right, in terms of punch and drama. It's a huge difference in the photograph, but physically, how much effort was made there? I moved the light like 6 inches, okay? Really good telltale kind of lesson in the fact that putting your light where you think you really need to put that light is very important. Sometimes the difference between a good photograph and a beautiful photograph is moving the light a few inches. Okay, we're on the set with Makey, who's a wonderful, wonderful model. We're going to start simple again, okay, with a straight flash approach. We're going to build this set as if we have one light and one light available to us only. And we're going to take a look at a whole variety of light shaping tools that are currently very popular out there on the marketplace that Velcro or rubber band or gaffer tape, however you want to attach them to your small flash, give you different looks, different qualities of light. We're going to take a look at a number of those. 250, 5.6, controlling the light, not too much ambient, everything's going to be flash. Let's see what happens. All right, here we go, Mickey. Beautiful. Great. That's nice, gorgeous. Nice. Well, she's working really well. She's working better than I am, okay, because I'm using a straight flash. It's effective, let's put it that way. It's efficient. It's not eloquent. It's not particularly, expressive, all right? Again, we talk about any light that emanates from the image plane and the axis of the lens is pretty much got some limitations. De facto, it's going to be a little unflattering. What I'm doing here is I'm taking light and I'm throwing it at Makey, okay? I'm not interpreting her lovely face. So what we're going to do now is that big step, that important step in all flash photography is get the light off the camera. Get the light off the angle of approach of the lens, even by a few inches, a couple of feet, whatever, okay? It'll improve the quality of the light. So, I'm gonna take this flash, which has been my main light. It's still gonna be my main light, but I'm switching it over now to become a remote unit, a remote flash unit. And the pop-up or built-in flash in this particular camera model is gonna speak to that. It's gonna tell it what to do. Using a very simple stand, very lightweight Manfrotto stand. We use Justin clamps. The ubiquitous Justin clamp is a pretty handy thing on the set. It enables you to clip one of these small flashes to a chair, a table, a light stand. Pretty sturdy ball head, gives you omnidirectionality, and our particular little kind of foible, if you will, is that we use the teeth of the Justin clamp to hold the battery packs. Not always, but it's actually pretty effective to do it that way. You know that the battery pack is safe and sound, it's clipped to the unit, you're not stressing the cord. Okay, I'll put this off camera here. I make sure that the sensor, which is right next to the battery chamber, it's going to receive the signal from the main, from the commander flash, you know, the onboard flash, the built-in, okay, it's right there. So it's going to see that, no worries there. And orient this way. I always try to get onto the set to see the angle of approach of the light to my subject. That's looking pretty good. Next step is to put the pop-up, or engage the pop-up, okay? Check the menu, make sure it's set up as commander. It's going to command Group A, Channel 1, which that light is set up for. And we'll see. It's working. Okay, so let's take a couple shots. Here we go. Beautiful. Lovely. Stay right there, that's gorgeous. Stay with it. Pretty. Perfect. Already the light's much, much better. The angle of approach of it is slightly camera left, so that gives a chance for the light to develop character to Mickey's face. In other words, there's a shadow on the opposite side. Let's move the light around, and let's also put some sort of light shaper on it, because right now it's just a notch above straight flash. It's off the camera, but minimal diffusion, just the dome diffuser on it. It's still a very hard light. Okay, we're going to soften this up because it is pretty hard light, even with the dome diffuser. And I'm going to use a LumaQuest 3.0 softbox. Okay, simple light shaping tool, Velcro attaches. If you notice, I'm leaving my dome diffuser on, trying to get, at this point, as much scatter and softness to the light as I possibly can. So I snug the Velcro around the dome diffuser to get as much scatter, diffusion, wrap, efficiency, all that good stuff out of a small flash. Okay, so basically the light goes on like this. Pretty easy, okay? Not the biggest source in the world, to be sure, still, you know, snug it up here a little bit. But pretty effective in the sense that it does take this small flash and spread it. Now I'm going to move this pretty close to Mickey. All right, closer I can get that light, a couple of good things happen. Size of the source gets bigger relative to the subject, just de facto by moving it closer. Also, I increase efficiency of the light, therefore I reduce my recycle time, so I can shoot faster. I'm not taxing the light. It's moving really close to the subject. It's really rebounding really, really quickly. Lovely. Stay with it, that's great. Beautiful. All right, so you hear how fast that light is recycling. Look at the distance. It's very minimal. Now, I'm getting good light out of it. It's a little hard because relative to her, it's still fairly small. So now we have the dome diffuser on. We have the LumaQuest 3.0 softbox over the dome diffuser. Let's triple diffuse it, okay? I'm gonna take this light and I'm gonna take a tri-grip diffuser. I'm gonna put it between the light and Mickey. Back this off a little bit. Take this way. So now, lots of folks, you know, kind of knock, you know, small units saying, oh, there's not enough power to do this, there's not enough power to do that. I kind of debate that. I think there's a lot of leeway you have with these lights because they are pretty efficient if you use them close, and they also, you know, we've got improvements in battery power, all that stuff. We got external battery packs, you know, really helps. Here we go. Okay, significant improvement in the light. I mean, huge, okay, absolutely huge. That's the secondary layer of diffusion. It's still one light, but it's operating through 3 layers of diffusion. Okay, there was a little bit of a hot spot on Mickey's forehead from the smaller light source, gone. The light is much creamier, much smoother. Okay, let's do this, Mickey. Cool, good look. Very pretty. Very nice, gorgeous. Stay with it, that's nice. Cool, good, good. Nice, awesome. Gorgeous. Okay, now, you have to think fast on the set. She's got an amazing face, and this strong light coming from the side is now pretty rich. Let's just see what happens if we make a quick adjustment. We've got her essentially on a gray background now because it's white, it's not getting a lot of light, it's now falling into gray. Let's do this. I'm gonna pull a black onto the background. And just come with a side light arrangement just like this, and we'll see the feel and effect of that. Okay, good opportunity here to talk about the camera brain for just a second. I'm commanding that remote flash that's running through, as I mentioned, 3 layers of diffusion from the pop-up or built-in flash. On white, I was operating completely 0-0 compensation. Now on black, I've had to dial in -1. Can you guess why? Shifting to black, the camera sees black, sends a signal to the flash, it's dark. Flash powers up accordingly. This is TTL in operation. It can be frustrating because there'll be fluctuations to TTL, but just roll with it and try to understand that the camera is a machine. It doesn't understand the aesthetic intent of the photographer. It's just reacting to what it sees. When it saw white, it was fine. It was kind of right in the middle of the road. It sees black, it says to the flash, okay, you got to put out some more light. Hence, I had to countermand that by introducing a signal here at the commander to tell that flash to go -1. Okay, Mickey, here we go. Beautiful. Gorgeous, gorgeous. If you notice, that's gorgeous, great shoulder. If you notice, the light is recycling quite quickly, even through 3 sheets of diffusion. I'm at 250 at 5.6, running the light at -1. Gorgeous. And she looks lovely. She looks wonderful. The light's really creamy and rich. It's moody and it's pensive, and she's working really well with it. She's interacting emotionally with the light, which is where you want to be, okay? You want to match the light to the mood and tempo of your subject. We're going to introduce a second light on a grid and see if we can just put a glimmer off her hair. One of the reasons I take these various light shaping tools with me is that I can control light even coming from a small flash. So now we're going to go to a second light and we're going to run it through. This is what they call a flash point. It's a cone or snoot, and it ends up in a grid. The grid columnates the light, concentrates it, and brings it down to a spot. Okay, so I'm just going to put a glimmer on the shadow side of her to see if I could pick up some highlights on her hair. Okay, so for this instance, when I'm concentrating the light using a grid, I'm not going to leave the dome diffuser on because I don't want scatter. Okay, I'm going to slip this on. Okay, and it's got a Velcro. So now we have a very concentrated light. All right, I'm going to further concentrate it by making sure my zoom back in here on the flash itself is maxed at 200 millimeters. Zooming a light is the same thing as zooming a lens. You're narrowing the field of view. Okay, the sensor is right here next to the battery chamber, so I'm going to make sure that that sensor is rotated towards my commander or built-in flash, which is at that end of the set. So to that end, I'm going to use a C-stand now. I'm going to bring this in and angle it a little bit. And I'm going to take the ball head on the Justin clamp, swing the whole head this way, so now that sensor is going to pick up my light or my commander unit without a problem. So when I have a very concentrated light, it's going to hit obviously a small area. I could miss by a country mile if I'm not careful about, sighting the light. So this is a quick test to judge where a very tight or concentrated light source is actually going to hit. All right, so now I have it located right back here, about where it should be. Same way, Mickey. Perfect. That's great. Beautiful. Now, you hear that flash? Hear it cranking at me? Okay, that's an automatic signal to me that something's wrong. Not wrong, but the flash is working awfully hard. That means it's recycling, it's taking a while to recycle. I can hear that audible chirp. It's telling me it's taken a while to recycle, so that means to me that it's dumping light, which is probably too much light for my taste. So it's an automatic warning. If you listen to the lights, it's an automatic warning that, hey, I better check this out before I go any further. And on a couple of occasions, sure enough, that light is reflecting off of black in the background and her black hair, and it's struggling to light the whole thing. So once again, I have to adjust the camera's brain, and I go into my commander mode. That light is group B. I toggle down to group B, and I put this all the way down into -3, and I hit OK. So now that light is -1, that light is -3. Most of that adjustment is necessary because the camera's seeing so much dark area. It's telling the lights to power up. Okay, here we go, Mickey. Beautiful, gorgeous. Hear it now? Hear it come back? That's lovely. Beautiful, stay there, great. We took a couple of lights and put them into a realm where we created a pretty sophisticated, nice-looking photograph by means of layering on some diffusion, and then conversely, on the other side of Mickey, in her hair area, we put in a hard light, a spotted light, mixing two different types of light sources. Now we're getting back to basics. Again, one light. This is a small beauty dish, okay? And it's a flash point attachment. You can see right here, the flash is not allowed to come straight towards your subject. It hits this called a deflector, which is white, and it bounces the light back in and it radiates around it. That's a classic construction for a beauty dish. Of course, this is a very small beauty dish. Lots of beauty dishes out there are like, 10-ton salad bowls. I mean, they're huge. This thing, miniature, travels light, okay? It's ideally suited for a lone photographer working by themselves. Quick test. Beautiful. Okay, now the characteristic of this light is a very distinct characteristic of a beauty dish. It hits cheekbones, emphasizes cheekbones, and falls like a rock. So in other words, there's a strong shadow pattern being created. I think it's beautiful, but it also has to be feathered a little bit. So, feathering to the rescue here. Let's see if we can soften it up. There's a diffuser, okay? Let's pop that on. The light has a real powerful edge to it. We're gonna take a bit of that edge off by putting this basically kind of Dixie cup on top of it. All right, here we go. Beautiful, gorgeous. Okay, now it really is a nice light for the shape of her face. Nice, that's it. Key just a little bit up into the light, Nikki, that's it, good, beautiful. Gorgeous. Okay, tremendous fall off, tremendous drama. It's really, really nice. It's a particular light. Let's put it this way. Not everybody's gonna like this light. Why? Because it has such power. It has such shadow edge. It hits the rotation line from highlight to shadow is like a knife edge, okay? Not everybody's gonna like that. So this would have to be in the realm of a particular light, all right? Something that's suited to a certain kind of taste or a certain kind of face. Mickey has a wonderful face. She can handle all sorts of light. All right, so a ring light, very particular light, okay? So is the beauty dish. I'm gonna use them in conjunction, okay? I've never done this before, so why not do it now on a video experiment? Light and getting good with light is all about experimentation and being willing to fail, being willing to take a risk. So what I was liking about the beauty dish was the drama, but I felt it got too dramatic, okay? It got too dark, too fast. I wanna open it up, but I don't wanna lose the kind of spectral, nice pop quality of the beauty dish. So the ring light could be an excellent solution as a fill. Now I have two lights in play. What do I have to do? I have to play the ratio game. How powerful is that light? How powerful is this light? This de facto is going to be weaker than that. Why? This is the fill. That's the main. So now I want that main to still be dominant, but I want this fill to come in and just soften those shadows. Let me see where I am. Okay. Perfect. Way to go, Mickey. Nice. Now, balancing that light. I've got the main light, which is group A, at +2. I've got the ring light at 0, 0. That's a differential of 2 stops. And if you notice, the ring light is acting as a TTL wireless commander, in addition to being a flash. Now, sometimes with the ring light, attachment like this, you could be in trouble getting a signal to your remote light. I could easily not trust this light in terms of being a consistent commander or a consistent TTL read. Why? Because the entire output of the light is being fed into these tubes around in here. This is a good opportunity to use wireless flash manually. The A group light, which is this, is manual 1/16. The master or main light here is 1/32. Okay? This is triggering that, it's sending in a signal. They're both responding, but they're both fixed now. So in other words, I can't do the TTL thing where I go back and forth and expect the lights will compensate for my distance change. I have to stay pretty much right where I am because the lights are fixed, the power is fixed, the f-stop is fixed, and the ratio here is playing nicely together at this distance. Okay, here we go, sweet. Beautiful. Good, good. Nice. Beautiful, beautiful. Gorgeous. Cool. Nice job. That's an iteration of the flash technology that's wireless, but not TTL. TTL, as we know, has a variance to it, right? It'll respond to what the camera sees. Background's dark. We saw that already. The light's powered up. Now, I'm sending them a wireless signal, but I'm telling them to be manual, which means I'm fixing the game. I'm telling them you are at a certain power, you're not going to fluctuate. Got it. All right, let's go test it. Let's get a camera lens inside. We'll see. We'll go TTL. 00. Channel 1. You should be able to just place it right against the window, Callie, and it'll fire. I mean, the whole thing might not work, guys. Mike, can you be subject? Need you over by the wall there. Okay, let's just see. Look towards the window, please. Uh-oh. It doesn't like this. So we're here in this location, which is all about mustiness and character and patina, and there's dust and rust and all that stuff that we love as photographers. It's a drum repair shop. So you have to see drums, and you have to see probably a bunch of them. You certainly have to see the shapes. So I'm thinking a wide-angle lens is going to help me emphasize some of these round shapes here. And wide-angle lens will also enable me to get a ton of stuff in here, you know, even up to the ceiling. And then what I'm going to do is place my subject. Lulu is our subject, our repairman, but the first thing I'm going to do is place the camera and shoot some available light pictures, because I want to see where the light is playing, what's it doing, all that sort of stuff, and then I can kind of sort out how to put my light into the scenario without disturbing the existing pattern or calling attention to itself. Great quality and texture overall. I mean, it's really kind of cool. I don't oftentimes work on a tripod, but in this instance, I'm going to. Okay, that's good, Lulu. Okay. All right. So I have no exposure compensation dialed in right now. 0, and there's a fair amount of light in here. Obviously, we got big windows. With the interior exposure, You know, the camera's trying to average things. It's looking at interior and exterior, and it's weighting all of this and exposing down in here, or trying to expose down in here. To get some detail in here, you're gonna have to effectively overexpose the photograph. Outside, you know, it's in your frame. You can't really deal with it all that well. You gotta just let it go. And that will ultimately help you, because the blown out windows will wash light off of all this texture and surfaces in here. I'm gonna ask you to be right about here, okay? And looking at the camera, okay? We'll try that, just as a starting point, okay? Not bad. He's pretty dark, you know, looking predictably. Okay, so let's get a light going. Just 1SB, this Easy Box. The Easy Box is a nice light. The reason I'm using it as opposed to an umbrella is that it's going to concentrate light and really kind of drop it on Lulu and not so much blow it all over the place. And that should be a fairly strong light for him, a good character light. So we'll see how we do with that. Now, I've got a lot of my softbox going over Lulu's head. That's not so bad. He'll be illuminated by the spill or the lower part of this, and some of this light will just, you know, head towards the background and hopefully not affect the background all that much. Flash control for built-in flash. That is where I want to be. Click on that. Brings me up into these various modes. I want to go to commander mode. Hit OK. Now, I'm in the mode where I can pick and choose groups and relative power. So I don't want any power coming out of the built-in flash. I don't want any light to come from there at all, except that pre-flash that occurs prior to the actual exposure, which talks to that light. So I click through the options. I'm at Group A, TTL, and we hit OK. Otherwise, those settings disappear, as you know. And let's just take first picture here. Well, first flash exposure is actually right on. It's terrific, except for a couple of minor details, like I have half the softbox in my frame. Right now, on the standard straight up stick that I have it on, it is a done deal. There's no real flex control at the point of illumination. It's either straight up or straight down per the stand it's sitting on. So what I'm gonna do is use an umbrella adapter and slide a stud into it. Tighten this down a touch. And then what I'll be able to do is take this guy off, completely off, and put this guy on. This now will give me that all-important component known as pitch control for the light. If you recall, just a second ago, I had it on the stand. The stand is oriented this way. There's no, flex to it. So I had a straight up and down light, which could be fine, but also robs me of, a certain measure of versatility and placement, possibility. Because now, if I've got this light and I can do this with it instead of going just straight up and down with it, that's pretty cool. Now, got the light clear. It's two things. It's too strong and it's too neutral. So in addition to being too much light, the first exposure was also too clean, too quote unquote natural or neutral looking. That's because I have auto white balance programmed. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take my white balance and shift it to cloudy. Cloudy white balance is a reference basically to the light condition that occurs when you have sunlight coming through thick cloud cover. Cloud tends to take daylight and make it blue or cool in terms of the color spectrum. You can adjust your camera to accommodate that or even work against it by shifting up your white balances. So now my cloudy white balance is going to give me a warmer result because it's programmed to do that. So I should get a nicer tone, a kind of a more homey feel to the actual picture. Okay, looking good, Lulu? Cool? Nice. Okay, definitely a nicer feel to the file and still too much light. So that's a pretty simple operation. I'm gonna go into the menu, into my flash control for built-in flash, commander mode. It's only active as a commander. You can tell that from the two hash marks that are right there. It's not active as a flash. However, Group A is active as a flash. TTL00. And as I said, it's looking like that's too much light. So let's take one stop out of it, hit OK. All right, here we go. Looks good. The light from this distance is not going to be particularly eloquent or expressive, but it covers the waterfront pretty well. Because I am using a wide lens and I can still see the place, I'm going to ask Lulu to come forward towards me, please. You're trying to draw that fine line between working the location and quality of light. Now this quality of light I think will ramp up and get much better very, very quickly. What I'm doing here is I'm going to take a look, eyeball through the camera, push this in as close as I can, and I have just the edge of it right there. Okay, so here we go. Now I'm still -1, much closer to Lulu though. Okay, getting there. Now, another thing that's happening, and why my exposure is basically very even toned, he's sort of open, is that I'm shooting on aperture priority with no exposure compensation. So the camera is trying to look around at this whole scene and pull in all that information and accommodate the flash, and the result right now is a bit of a flat file. So even though I have my flash dialed down, it still looks kind of open and, I don't know, just too much light, too much light. It's flat, it's has no charisma or character. So one thing I'm gonna work on is my placement, putting it over here a little bit, angling it more towards my subject. Then I'm going to go into my EV, or exposure value dial, and I'm going to dial down -1. Here we go. That's a little better. Definitely getting a little bit better, okay, in terms of the character of my light. That light has gotten considerably dimmer now. Why? Because the light listens to the EV I've programmed in here as well. So now effectively that light is running at -2. So let's go back, do the math, play with the ratios, and I'll go into menu, flash control, commander mode, toggle over, bring this back up to quote unquote normal. Cool. Nice. All right. Definitely getting a little bit better. Now, an interesting problem, have a little bit of that light in his glasses. So I'm going to ask Lulu to adjust your glasses. Just tip them down like this a little bit. Bring them down your nose. There you go. Good. Like you're kind of, yeah, looking at me like, yes, what do you think you're doing here? You know, yeah. I think you could probably do that look really well. He was looking pretty good there, so I just kind of popped a quick picture. Okay, I've got one other piece of equipment with me today. It's called a tri-grip, or more specifically, a tri-flip. You can clip them onto a stand with a holder, but it's also, you know, pretty sturdy. Okay, it holds up well like this, okay? It's just a flat piece of board. I'm gonna put it under Lulu. If he was uncomfortable and I wanted to make him feel better, it's also really nice to do this for your subjects, you know, with the tri-flip, make them feel like really special, you know, that kind of thing. When I can stick this underneath here, get it out of the way of my light. Okay, and now I got a little bit of warm wash as opposed to the last one, which was kind of neutral underneath his arm. I've got just a bit of nice highlight, which works out pretty well. And I've got no hits in his glasses. You always have to be careful of that when you bring any sort of reflective board or light source from below the face. That could catch highlights in anybody's glass line, so you have to be careful of placement of these guys. And I'm thinking it's a little dead, so I'm gonna pop back up to a more normal exposure. So that means I'm letting in more light. All right, Lulu, look right at me, please. Here we go, looking good. Actually, looking better than good. You're looking positively rakish. Do you know what that means, Lulu, in English?
No,
Yeah, it's, you know, it means man about town, kind of a raconteur, kind of, perhaps even a man the police would call a person of interest in the aftermath of some local scandal. Now, take a step towards camera just a little bit. Come closer to me. All right, and turn your head that way just a touch, but keep your eyes towards me. Good, nice. Nice. Okay, all right. So now we've got a really nice portrait. I mean, done deal, out of the camera. One light, simple approach. There's one last thing I would try though. Sometimes my strategy in places like this is to immediately turn off all the artificial illumination, be it tungsten, fluorescence, whatever. In this instance, because I'm kind of losing the back of the shop still a little bit, and there's so much great stuff back there, I'm gonna actually turn on the fluorescence. I don't think there'll be any color cast because the hot backlight is gonna wash right over them, trample any sort of, green, fluorescent color. So let me turn them on. Here we go. Okay. And let me just see, without even a fill board, just do a quick test. Yeah. I'm reaching out to the environment to get any bit and piece that can help me. And in this instance, whereas the fluorescents are usually, don't want them, now I turn them on and they're helping me light that bench back there. Okay, a few more, Lulu, okay? You're being very patient, very dramatic, lugubrious even. And I've got a 32 gigabyte card in here, and my editor told me not to come back to the office unless I filled it all up. Otherwise, I'd lose my job. So you're gonna have to stay there for a while.
What means 1 hour extra?
I had a friend I used to know who once he photographed an old sheriff and he had to go back and reshoot him, and his assistant called the sheriff and said, "It won't take long," and he heard the sheriff chuckle and he goes, "When you get photographed by that fella, you don't bring a watch, you bring a calendar." I'm messing with you, man. Okay. I like. It's nice.